In this video, I am going to show you step by step how to do a change project risk assessment the correct way to save you time in the process. As we go over the 6 steps, keep these 3 stages in mind: stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Each stage has a series of questions that project managers and change managers need to respond yes or no to in order to determine the overall project risk score for their project. And you can use the OCM solution software to do this. The link is below. Or you can use any other project and change management software that your organization uses. And if you want to use Excel, that is fine too. You can do that and just follow along. Now, let us go over the 6 major steps for you to keep in mind when conducting your project change risk assessment. Step 1, define the scope of change. So for defining the scope of change, there are some key things you should do as part of this process. 1, you want to clarify what type of change is being introduced. Is it a system implementation? Is it a policy update? Is it an organizational restructuring or cultural mindset change initiative? 2, identify the scale. Is it a change that impacts the entire organization? Meaning, is it an enterprise-wide change, or is it a departmental change or team-specific? You also want to set clear objectives. That way, your risk assignment aligns with your project goals. And that moves us to step number 2. Step number 2 involves identifying potential risk. So for this step, you want to engage stakeholders, leaders, frontline employees, and any impacted users to make sure that you can gather the different perspectives. You also want to consider risk in multiple areas. So people risk. So for example, the potential for resistance or knowledge skill gaps. You want to do those assessments. Another one is process risk. Process risk is very important. So you want to look at workflow disruptions, technology risk, system downtime, especially when you get to go live weekend. Integration issues. A lot of times when I do organizational change management, I identify situations where the project team didn't really do a deep dive into understanding how implementing a new system or integrating a new system will impact upstream and downstream systems. So you want to ensure you take those into consideration. Organizational risk is another aspect. So budget going over, leadership alignment. A lot of times when I am coaching change managers or project managers, they normally come up with this question, which is, hey, Obi, how do I go about identifying potential risk? My recommendation is you can use surveys, right? You can send out surveys. You can do workshops to engage with selected SMEs or champions to gather information. You can also do brainstorming sessions to ensure that you are gathering a comprehensive list. I will also provide you with a free checklist. The link is going to be below that will guide you step by step as to how you can go about gathering these pieces of information that you really need for your change risk assessment. And that moves us to step number 4. For step number 4, you want to assess impact and likelihood. So here is a visual representation of what I mean by identifying impact and also likelihood. So you basically want to rate each risk based on likelihood, low, medium, or high, and also impact. So what we are looking at here is a change impact assessment where we have the name of the change, we have the current situation and also the future situation, basically the current state and also the future state. For each of these changes, we are identifying whether it is a low impact, medium impact, and high impact. And this is something you will want to do to determine the impact and the likelihood of risk for your particular project. And that moves us to step number 5. For step number 5, you want to prioritize risk for action. What do I mean by that? Not every risk needs equal attention. You want to focus on those risks that are both likely and high impact. Rank risk to create a clear roadmap for mitigation efforts. This one is very important, ranking risk to create a clear roadmap for mitigation efforts, specifically because it has to do with that prioritization. A lot of times mistakes that we see is project teams and change managers focusing on low priority risk and not spending enough time on high priority risk. Something else is you want to ensure that your leadership understands which risk could derail the success. You want to ensure you are keeping your leadership in the loop in regards to your risk matrix. You can focus on the high risk and reference without spending too much time on the low risk or the mid risk when presenting to leadership. Every risk needs to be mitigated to some extent or the other. In other words, you cannot ignore a risk just because it is low risk. But when presenting to your leadership, don't overwhelm them with all of the risk. Focus on the high risk and also mention, for example, you could say, hey, we also have 20 low or medium risk that we've identified. And if the leader is interested in learning more about the low and mid level risk, they will ask you to elaborate. That's another mistake that I see project teams make a lot, where they go present to a leadership or to their leadership with a 50-slide deck and they lose their audience. When it comes to executives, keep it simple, keep it high level, keep it prioritized. And that brings us to step number 6. For step number 6, you will want to develop mitigation strategies. Understanding the risk is great. Documenting the risk is great. Developing how you will mitigate the risk is even greater. One thing I normally tell my change management consulting clients, similar to what I did when I was at Apple, Intel, or Cisco, and I was advising leadership and also providing change management. I normally say, if you don't have mitigation strategies, then you are setting yourself up for failure. It's like jumping off an airplane without a backup parachute. And this is why, for my change management project, one of the first things that I do is a project change risk assessment, documenting that, and then developing the mitigation plans and then implementing those mitigation plans. So basically, developing mitigation strategy means for each high risk, for each high priority risk, you want to outline proactive measures and contingency plans. Examples: employee resistance. To mitigate that risk, You want to launch early communication campaigns and involve champions. For knowledge or skill set gaps, you want to offer targeted training before rollout as a solution to mitigating that risk. When you have a situation where there will be downtime to a system or technology, you want to build a phased implementation schedule to mitigate those risks. You also want to assign owners that will be responsible for executing the mitigation actions. You want to communicate your findings and your communication plans. You want to share risk assessment results with project sponsors and stakeholders. Very, very important. You want to provide transparency on what risk are being managed and how. And you also want to encourage two-way dialogue. That way you are ensuring that you are uncovering blind spots. You want to ensure that you monitor, track, and update regularly. So risks evolve throughout the project lifecycle. And you don't want a situation where you are blindsided. Schedule regular reassessments at key milestones. For example, before pilot testing, before enterprise rollout. You can do follow-up updated assessments then. You also want to update your risk templates or register with new risks as well as lessons learned. And to simplify how you conduct your change risk assessment, I have created a ready-to-go free checklist that walks you through each step. The link is below. And right here on my screen is a quick screenshot of what that roadmap looks like. You will notice it is a simple roadmap that breaks activities into key steps. It includes the 6 steps that we went over and also 2 additional bonus steps that are listed here as step number 7 and step number 8. By following these key steps to achieving and completing an effective change risk assessment, you will ensure that you stay proactive, not reactive, and help increase the successes of your project. Ready for more? Watch the next video to boost your success and grow your expertise. Also, check out the free resources below, including free templates, free checklists, and a software trial to help you in your professional journey. See you there.